Well, welcome back, everyone, to Going Goddess, the sacred space where inner knowing meets real world healing. I'm Cherry, and I'm here with.
I'm Silver Luna, and today we're here with a very special guest, Delia Toledo. I'm so excited. She is so magical. I can't wait to hear from her. Delia, welcome.
Hi, how are you? I'm very
Great.
glad to be here today. Back to public service. I haven't done this in 8 years. I was craving doing this again.
Yay!
Oh gosh, yay. I'm so excited that you're here then, and so honored that we would be your first podcast back in 8 years. I know that the world has been needing what you have to say. So today we're diving into the world of past life regression, energy work, energy healing. We're going to learn about Delia's journey with all sorts of different kinds of healing, from psychiatry to spiritual healing and transformation, and so much more. So I'm really excited for Delia to kind of weave all of this together for us. So yeah, I think that we kind of start at the beginning. I mean, Delia, I would love if you wanted to give kind of an intro. Who are you? And then what brought you into the world of healing, from, psychiatric work to spiritual healing?
Oh my God. First of all, remember, I'm almost 60. I'm going to turn 60 this year.
Good for you. You did not look near
Right?
60.
Agreed.
So when I started doing all this was not mainstream, and I was the black sheep, and I was like a rebel, and I was like crazy. Imagine, like, I graduated med school in residency in 1995. These things were not mainstream like they are now. Okay. So basically, since I was a little child, I've always had spiritual experiences. Like, the psychic part comes from both parts of my family. And as I was telling you guys, when I was like 9 or 10, I had like an experience with an angelic being, what you would call an angel. And I was fascinated at the time with the Egyptians and with the dinosaurs and archaeology and all that. And he led me slowly to understand and told me that I had a message to bring, and that license, that certification as a psychiatrist, was going to be very important in people listening to what I needed to say. So I had that as my north since I was a child. I went directly into med school against my parents' desire, because I come from a Puerto Rican family that is very traditional, and women were not supposed to study medicine. And at the time, med schools were like 70, like 85% men and maybe 15% women. It's not like that now, but at the time we were the minority, so it's not normal for women to go into medicine. um, and then I had a grandfather who was a very psychic person, and he was very well developed in his psychic abilities, and he did amazing things, and he was a very kind and very sweet man. So I was always very like clear that I wanted to be a psychiatrist, because in that conversation with that angel, he said you need to go into psychiatry. Actually, psyche means soul. It doesn't mean mind. So really, we're all dealing with some people's souls, right? Even when you think we're dealing with the emotions and the thoughts, that's not really what a psychiatrist should be doing. That's part of it, right? And when I had that experience with that angel, he showed me and he said, you need to be a psychiatrist, because people are like a house, and sometimes you have a problem in the attic, but it really comes from the foundations, meaning that sometimes we're having illnesses or genetic problems or any type of problem that is affecting the way you're perceiving and you're handling like the higher levels of your mind and your emotions. So that's finally why I went into psychiatry. Once I graduated, that I had more autonomy, even though during the residency I was reading tarot, because I have been reading tarot since I'm 16. My grandfather gave me my first deck. If you want to see my little collection.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Amazing.
Oh,
This is
listen,
cool.
if you're
No,
going to listen, you should see this collection. It is floor to ceiling.
yeah, it's like a lifelong pursuit, like for
That's
me,
amazing. That's
these
beautiful.
are the symbols of the soul,
Yeah.
and it is the symbols of the soul. and everything is in there, like everything you need to know in terms of where
That is
people
so
are
cool.
going, whatever. So once I graduated, I started working like traditional psychiatry, but at some point I did train with Brian Weiss. It was in 2001.
Wow.
So
Well,
after I trained with him, I started doing past life regression therapy, and I did that for 15 years. During those 15 years, I started to incorporate astrology
mm,
into it. I love astrology. Astrology is incredibly related to psychological processes. Like, and by the gene keys, you guys know. I
Hmm.
mean, it is.
Yep.
And then I started to incorporate also backflower remedies because they have correspondences with astrology. So whenever a patient would come to me, and this I did this for 15 years, I don't do it anymore. I
mm.
learned everything I needed to learn from it, so I don't do it anymore. But I would pull out a chart and see the karmic lessons that the person needed to learn, right? Which are the personal planets. I would give them back flowers, and then I would start the regressions. And if they needed medication, like regular medication, I would incorporate that too. But I would start to work with the karma that the person had. At the time, I already was a Reiki master. So I would manipulate energy, which made it so much more easier for
Oh,
me to do. And then I started to help people burn their karma. That what that did when you do past life regression therapy, you it's easier for people to see the scripts, the subconscious scripts that they are performing in the present life over and over again because it tends to be repetitive. When you don't learn your karmic lessons, you just keep repeating them.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yes, I
Yep.
do.
With the backflower remedies, I don't know if you guys know about backflowers. What they do is they give you the information that you're lacking.
And what is it called?
Backflower remedies.
Backflower.
Backflower remedies.
Yes,
Okay.
BACH. They were developed by an English doctor, actually, who's a medical doctor that also did homeopathy. He did both, and this is in early 90s, like the time of June, in 1930s, 1940s. That's when this happened. There was a huge quantum leap at that time in terms of the unconscious and energy medicine and a lot of things happened at that time too.
Mm,
Um, and he was able to correspond the back flowers with the signs, with the zodiacal signs
yeah,
and the lessons that they need to learn. So that made my work so much easier because the back flowers, it's like when you lack the information, they give you the information.
that's amazing.
Mm.
Yeah, my boyfriend was like a few months ago. He was having to make a very harsh decision to leave his job. He works for United Healthcare, and he was feeling like it's so out of alignment with them,
Mm,
because they're, you know.
Yeah.
So after they killed the CEO, because the company has been having so much trouble, they opened a window, and he was like struggling. He's been there like for 20 years. And
oh,
I'm like, oh my God, this is God opening, get out. And he
Yeah.
was having, also, I prepared his back flowers, gave them to me. And I'm telling you, he started taking them. 2 hours later, he was another person. He was like, what the fuck is this? Like,
okay.
how does this work? And I said, I told you they work. I mean, I just know what I'm doing. I know how to prepare them for you because I know your astrology, but
Mm,
they're amazing. Yeah,
So back
that's
flowers are a tool that essentially tell you information that you're lacking to help you correct a behavior that's become a pattern.
yes. Like I remember I had this actress in Puerto Rico. I used to see a lot of actresses and politicians, and which is the people that I want to target because those are the people that change the narrative and have a lot of influence. Those are the people that need to be healed. The
yes,
people who are on the top.
Agreed.
Everyone needs to, but those people influential, they need.
yes, where it trickles down to
Yes.
everyone else. Absolutely.
And she was a healer too, and she was an amazing person. And when she came to me and I gave her the background, she said it's like, and she described it precisely. I have all this information. I know what I need to do, but when the moment comes, I cannot embody the knowledge. When
Mm,
you're taking the back flowers, they're giving you the information so you can embody the knowledge. They
amazing.
raise your vibration because back flowers are vibration, really, are frequency. what they're doing is they're taking your disrupted thoughts and emotions and giving them,
Yeah.
that harmony, so you have the information to do the correct thing. That's what they
So
do.
is it something that you consume? Like you actually eat it? And do you take it like every day?
You put it in your water, for example. You prepare the formula, and then
Mm-hmm.
you take it, like, it's about frequency, not quantity. So it's something I tell people: put it in your water. You're drinking water all day. You're gonna be correcting that frequency all day inside you.
Okay, so I want some.
I know, right?
How do you how does one like acquire
I mean, you can find them in Whole Foods and Sprouts. They have them, but I would have to pull up, or if you know your chart, I can basically tell you what you need.
Okay, so we're gonna have to talk after this.
Yeah, I'm very
You
interested.
go on the flowers and do the zodiacal signs, and I can give you the information so you guys know exactly what you need to do.
Oh,
Ooh,
very cool. Okay,
that is
that's
so
exciting.
interesting. And I feel
I
like
mean,
this,
they can be used even to clear your aura. I used to make a product in Puerto Rico that you would bathe with, and it would clear your whole energy system, and it had black flowers in them. And I'm going to start to do it again with a local community, um,
Yes.
all that do that. Yes.
that's so cool.
This
But
is, yeah, it's so cool because like we learn about all of these kind of mental exercises and practices that we can do to clear energy and clear our aura and strengthen it and all these things. But to think that there might be a consumable, I mean, and also of course what we put into our body is so important. Like the food we eat really does affect our energy. So I
Yes.
guess this is just another, it's like a supplement adding to it. Yeah,
mhm.
that affects us spiritually. That's so neat.
I feel like this is also like a microcosm of spirituality as a whole for a lot of people that we know we see the tools, we see our chart, we can put in our date of birth, time of birth, all of that, but without talking to somebody who actually understands what they're using and the tools that we've been supplied, we're just looking at information. So this is really interesting to hear about and actually
Yes.
get some real world like usage of it, you know?
It's very important to find practical applications. Like my daughter says, you're a problem solver, and that's my mind works. We were talking a little about neurodivergence, and
Mm,
I have certain, and we all have certain neurodivergences, right? But I know part of my neurodivergence is that my mind works in a very spiral way, in which I take problems, and I don't know why that's how it works. It just looks at everything in such a way that finds practical solutions all the time.
I
So
love
that's my job, right? It's efficiency. When you go to my gene keys, I am about efficiency. I am about, leadership, and about helping other people see what they can't see. That's my job.
Mhm.
speaking straight to my heart, Delia. Love
Yeah,
it.
right.
We're on similar missions. Yes, it is so special.
Yes.
Um, Silver, I'm sorry. Did you have something?
No, I
Oh,
didn't have any questions. I was gonna say, I think we should. Well, never mind. I don't know what I was gonna say. I got lost in like looking at the thing, trying to see if there we're kind of just wherever.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested because we touched on past life regression, but I know that's one of those things that people are really curious about, but there's a whole lot. I mean, there is a lot of knowledge out there, but I think it's important to get it from someone who has the right lens on these things. And I know that a lot of people kind of are unsure if they believe in it. So, could you, I guess, explain what past life regression is, what would happen in a session, all the good stuff?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, what you do is, you put the person in a kind of light, hypnotic state, because you want, part of what we want is for you to remember the whole thing. Like, I would never trust anyone who came to tell me what my past lives were, right? And when you go to the ageless wisdom, which is like a esoteric, like, school that I've studied for forever, they tell you that, like, a real master or teacher will never tell you about your past lives. That is something that, if your own psyche, your own soul is not revealing to you, no one should be revealing to you. So when
Mm,
people in a mild hypnotic state, you want them to remember the home. So this is why we go for that. And that is basically a little deeper over what happens when you're driving around and suddenly you go like, oh my God, how did I get here? I was like spaced out. You are in a hypnotic state because our brain goes into a hypnotic state naturally to rest for a little while, and we're doing automatic things, but it doesn't mean we're not conscious of what's going on in our mind if you're focused on the inside, right? That way you would know. So we start doing like the past, we take people into that state and then I move them into their past lives. And there's a whole process that I do, and I accompany the person in that past life. So I did that for 15 years where I learned how to be in the hypnosis with the person, seeing what they were seeing while taking notes at the same time because at that time, notes, right? So I learned how to be in the two spaces at the same time. Philosophically speaking, if you have issues with the thought of past lives, and you can think it's like stories that you have buried in your subconscious that are affecting your current script, the script, the unconscious script from which you're creating reality. So it's very important for you to see it because you're creating the same thing over and over, right? So it doesn't matter if you believe or not in past lives because it could be what I mean. If we think that the universe has multiple timelines and they're all happening at the same time, then it's not a past life. It's just a concurrent thing that is happening in a different timeline, right? Like the
Yeah, that's
philosophical
true.
aspect is not that important, but the important is what happens when you see that and you're able to solve the issues that you have been, doing over and over and over and over. I
Yeah,
mean, I can
yeah.
talk about specific examples of things that jump to my mind. Like I used to have this patient that was brought to me from actually from the United States to Puerto Rico to see me during a summer. She was she was like 17 or 18 because her grandparents used to come see me, and she had a lot of conflict with her mother. So when we started, and without reason, so when we started to do past life therapy, this girl had been abandoned by her mother, mistreated by her mother in previous life, not the same one, different ones, and she realized, wait, I'm projecting all this anger that I had with my past life mothers on this one, and that's not her fault. So during her last regression, instead of a regression, she had a progression, which sometimes happens. She goes to the future. In
Yeah.
this, she went to the future in this life. Sometimes they go to the future in future lives, and she saw this event where she was going, like she was not allowed to go out until she went out, and there was an accident, and when she came home she was reprimanded, and then she killed herself because she was so angry, like she did something stupid and OD'd and killed herself. So her angel put her in this room where there was absolutely nothing but her last words, which she would scream over and over and over, which were everything. So she had to stay in that space to hear herself and see what she had done for a while. It's kind of like a purgatory kind of thing. It seemed,
Man. So
during that regression.
how many sessions does it take?
It depends. Like sometimes you have to burn like 8 or 9 past life regressions, past lives with the same theme, and then move on to, that's then there's resolution. I
Okay.
remember I had another one who was divorcing, and she was so mad, like she would have like homicidal thoughts against her husband, and there
Oh,
was a lot of conflict and a lot of like emotional like violence. And we started doing regressions, and she saw in multiple lives she either killed herself, or she killed her wife, or her husband, or she was a man and she killed the wife, and or she committed suicide. Like every time there was a rupture, someone would die. And I remember by the sixth or seventh, she woke up and said, I need to stop doing this. I need to. I cannot wait. I cannot be. we need to be killed or kill someone because we're breaking up, right? So finally, and they were my friends. Actually, both of them. I remember he was a pediatrician, and she was not a doctor, but she was like my friend. I mean, I was doing regressions on a friend. I usually don't do that, but I did. And man, they divorced amicably eventually. Like she realized I need to stop this going over and over. This can't happen again. So that's the kind of thing that happens in when we do past life regression therapy. I
That's
get
really awesome.
excited. I am so passionate about these things. I get so excited.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's great. I mean, and it's so important because a lot of people are walking around with all of this angst and like these hard feelings, and they might be searching for where it's coming from, and they're just not able to find answers. And so, like, this is another tool to use. Like, you can journal, you can meditate, you can do lots of things, but sometimes you need to go even deeper, and
Mm-hmm.
it's an amazing
And
way to do it.
powerful. I'm telling you, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Um, People with near death experiences that they did not understand, and I would come back like very afraid of everything. I would
Mhm.
take them back to the moment, and then they would see, oh my God, this is not nothing to be afraid of. It's really beautiful. Or
Yeah.
people who have lost. I remember a lot of people came to me that would have lost like children,
Mm.
you and going back and being able to talk to them, that's so healing. Like it's a powerful tool, when you are able to get into the past lives or whatever. It is very powerful in terms of the emotions and the scripts that you can bring to light and be aware of and say, and resolution. Obviously we apply techniques that are conducive to resolution,
Mhm.
right?
How
What to do with the material.
how would you recommend to our listeners to seek out a professional that can help them with this kind of therapy?
I mean, it's an amazing therapy. Just be aware that you're in good hands. That would be my only
Yeah, but how would you
no.
find
I'm
locally?
sorry.
How would you find somebody?
I,
Like how
I
would
think it would have to be word of mouth because, like, initially Brian was when he trained us, he would recommend, but it's hard to recommend because you have all types of people in this business.
right?
There's a lot of men that abuse sexually, use it to. You have to be careful. You
Yeah.
know, I would go for someone that is really well trained, that is probably a psychologist or a psychiatrist. You could go for a therapist that their training has been really good, and I
Mm-hmm.
would do a lot of word of mouth. Other people that have been through the process and can tell you that's a reliable person.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Kind of.
Yeah, that's really good advice because if you're not in those spaces, like I have friends that do Reiki, and so then they could probably connect me with someone that has, all these other trainings. But if you're not in that space, yeah, I would say you want to look for people that have credentials that you can back up. Maybe don't just go on Craigslist looking for a Reiki master or
Yeah.
a facilitator,
Social media.
and then like interview them, like, and see how they feel, and are you at peace when you're talking to them, or is there a little question, or do you hear a no? And it's important to wait for the right person,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you'll know.
that's very important what you said. Like Saturn is moving into Aries too, and we're having this outer planetary movements that have a lot to do with our inner authority and not accepting the authority of gurus, priests, preachers. No one. Your intuition is your inner authority.
Yes, I got chills. That is,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a collective thing that needs to happen, and we need to move towards that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I completely
Part of the
agree.
struggle of current astrology, we're all relying more and more on that feeling, on that intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the inner knowing, it is so good and powerful and freeing and empowering. um the more that we can connect with our inner knowing, the better life gets, just straight up, for ourselves and for everyone else. Because like you said, we are lifting the consciousness of everyone when we do these things.
Yes, agreed.
That.
More people need to listen to their intuition. But also people need to understand what it is and what it's telling them and how to understand it, not, just do the first thing that comes to their mind. So I guess maybe I should expound upon that a little bit. Yeah, but it is awesome to have intentional healers in our space too. And that's a part of why I love Going Goddess, is that we're able to bring awesome people like Delia. Your information is so valuable. I mean, I don't know that I have anybody else in my inner circle that I could have come to ask these kinds of questions and gotten this much advice and guidance. And I mean, even just looking at your tarot stack, it's incredible.
I know.
So,
I have an addiction. I know.
It's amazing.
Now.
Yeah. So you actually had...
It's like I'm gonna be 60. I started when I was 16. It's like 40 years of collecting tarot. And it's like being my thing. And I'm really good at it. Like I remember I had a reading this friend of a friend. Like I have like a group of younger people that I mentor. Like Monday we have we call them the fam, right?
Oh.
It's small family. They're all younger than me, but they're all very spiritual inclined. So they're always around me some way or another. Like they're like, okay. So they brought in this new person, and he wanted me to do his tarot. And when I met him, I had like a really nice connection. So his question was like something like, what is the purpose of my life? And I said, do you really want me to answer that for you? Oh my God.
Question.
There you go. Welcome.
I started the reading, and I'm talking to him, and I mean, he starts crying. But then when I look at the other people on the table, everyone was crying, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh my God, this is like so deep and profound." I'm like, "Well, you asked the question. There you go." Like, I mean,
Yes.
like, what do you want me to do? You know?
You asked for it. That is the truth. With anything that is like energy healing, spirituality, you ask the universe to remove the things in your life that no longer serve you, it will. And do not be surprised when so many things fall away. And when you ask for answers, you're gonna get them, and they're gonna be intense. They might be intense, and that's for
especially
you.
big questions like that.
Like,
You get a pretty intense answer.
He just got his like answer about his purpose, and it's like, boom, go.
That was a lot to download.
Yes. And it's so cool that he got that surrounded by people that are like in his tribe, and it's like, we are here, and here's your answer, and let's go. That is really cool. Very special.
Right? I agree.
Man, yeah, when people are aligned with their purpose or curious about their purpose, I just love talking about purpose, because it just adds, I mean, it is the magic of life. When someone is aligned with it, they have a different energy, a different aura. My brain thinks differently. It's exciting.
It gives you purpose.
and you know what? We talked briefly about my hospitalization and what happened. And I think that happened precisely because I had to realign my work to my life's purpose. Because this is what happened. I was in Puerto Rico, and as I told you, I was in TV and radio in Puerto Rico, like weekly and every 2 weeks. Like I was doing a lot of public service. And in 2014, I had a dream. And that dream, I saw the island was completely destroyed. People were walking like zombies. Everything was dark. And I heard a voice tell me, you need to get out of the island. Imagine I had 2 properties, 2 kids. My daughter was still in school, in high school.
Oh my gosh.
My son was in 8th grade or 7th grade. And I was in TV, I was in radio, I had a career. I was like kind of a celebrity in Puerto Rico already. And I'm hearing, you need to get out. And I was just married. So I woke up and I tell my husband, I had this dream. And I'm crying because I never ever thought I wanted to leave Puerto Rico. It's the most amazing island in the world, and I have to say. And it's amazing to live here, and we're very happy people, and we have a nice time all the time, and we're like partying all the time, and the food is amazing. Like no one wants to leave Puerto Rico, you know?
Yeah.
So, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna move. And I'm like, you know what? You have a year to make up your mind because I'm moving with or without you. Because once things come from there, no one stands in my way. I'm sorry to say. So after a year, he finally said, okay, we moved here May of 2017, 16. And Hurricane Maria happened September of 2017. You remember Puerto Rico was dark for a whole year. Everything was destroyed. The whole island got destroyed. And everyone was walking like zombies because everyone had PTSD.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was almost
Awesome.
8 months later, everybody had PTSD. So when that happened, my daughter, who at the time was, she was, I think she was in Manhattanville already, or she was just moving back, or she had already completed, I don't know, something like that. She's like, Mom, you're fierce. I'm like, why? Said, you followed that dream, you pushed forward, you moved, you did everything. Everybody thought you were fucking crazy. I'm sorry, freaking crazy.
You're right.
You're good.
And now, like, everybody's like, oh my God, she was so right.
Yeah.
You know?
That is so
So
crazy.
And like,
crazy.
and you were upfront about like, I had a dream. I had a
I
dream
was
and I have to go. And people were like, you're crazy. And then you did it. And then for every single person that saw that and thought you were crazy, they just got to see in real life how
what's
following your intuition is the best path for you every time.
Absolutely.
exactly. And sometimes you have to follow your intuition against everyone's, like, you don't know how many times I've had to do this in my life. I was telling that to my boyfriend yesterday. How many times I've had to say, I know you don't understand what I'm gonna do. I know you don't get it, but I know what I'm
Yep.
being guided. And I know it's gonna be hard, and I know it's not gonna be easy because spirit will not, it's not going to be a path of roses. It's going to be like, there's going to be negativity there too. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be discipline that you have to develop. There's going to be courage that you have to find inside yourself to do this thing. This is the power of uh, pain. And this is the power of the trials and tribulations that we all go through life. They have a purpose. They make us find inside us things that we didn't know were there, our
Yes.
strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after I moved, of course, here, I mean, I'm no one. I was a big fish in a little pond down there, but here I'm a small fish in a bigger pond. Like no one knows who I am.
Yeah.
So, since 2017, I just developed myself professionally, like in the regular psychiatry. But then the last few years, I've been more into the creativity and this with my small community of people.
Nice.
So when the condition came, when this hospitalization came,
Yeah.
I had already bought the GT books,
Okay.
right? Talked about it. And my first fear was the one that has to do with brand and life work, which is the same sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get that activated in that specific sphere, you have an autoimmune disease becomes the initiation, which is this. I know. And that's the only thing I took to the ER. The book, a little thing to wrap myself with if I was, cold,
Yeah.
and to write on my eyeglasses. And I left the luggage with my boyfriend and said, you bring it later because I drove myself to the hospital that day and I was dying.
That's so
Like,
Oh.
wild.
and I'm reading that in the ER while they're doing all these scans because they think I have cancer. They don't know what I have. And, I'm dying. My hemoglobin is 5.4. Like, I can die at any moment. And I'm reading my GPs. Like, in the ER, they're looking at me because I'm dressed fabulous with my red suit and my dragon ears, my dragon earrings. And I'm sick and getting my blood in there. Like, I was.
You're like, I need to figure out my life path. Okay, just whatever
Yeah.
you need to do.
Right?
And your body is like,
With my blood is secondary. The important thing is what's going on spiritually here? You know?
Oh my God, that's wild and so
That's
cool.
You can ask my friends and my boyfriend. They were laughing at me because I'm all fabulous with my book and not really. I'm having a good time, not really caring about what's going on with me, but I'm caring about the spiritual part.
Yes.
You know?
So this was also the same trip to the ER. Like, didn't you have an out of body experience where you almost did die?
Yeah, I did. Like that night after they did all the scans and everything, they got me up to the room, and my boyfriend was there, and my two of my main proteges, like the people my two, like they're like my children to me.
Yes.
And since I am able to be in two spaces at the same time so easily, while I'm receiving the blood, I came up. Remember, the planets were aligned. So I came up through the top of my head and I just shot up into into another level. And I saw thousands and thousands. They were like pillars of light. And I knew there were millions of people
Mm-hmm.
going up consciously or unconsciously. The thing is that it's conscious. I know what's going on. I know a lot of people were having the experience. They just were not conscious about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going up and like a zipper, the planets opened up and it opened up and everybody went up. So when I went up, I saw myself positioned. It was like two tubes of vision that came from the eyes, but they were coming from from the sides of my eyes. They crossed in the middle, and then I was standing behind the crossing, like I was standing back there. And suddenly I saw all these timelines basically, but they were like TV, TV, like TVs,
Mm-hmm.
one after the other, with all the options of what would happen that day. And
Mm-hmm.
then one of the options was me dying. I could have chosen me dying. And
Mm-hmm.
the last option to the right was the condition that I have now, which is like idiopathic autoimmune hemolytic anemia, which was triggered by a virus I had last month. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm there and I realize and tell myself, wait, I am creating this too. I'm co-creating. So I can choose whichever option I want. And that gave me such peace at that moment. I'm like, of course I want that one. Like the least, the best one.
Well, and you had just learned earlier that day that in order to initiate this sequence, you needed to have the autoimmune disorder was part of it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's wild. That's
Right.
So, and then at that moment, I see a rhinoceros coming at me, barging at me, like running at me, like I'm gonna run all over you. And then I look at him and I said, no, sir. Today we're creating from love and light, not creating from fear. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
And suddenly he went like spoof and disappeared.
Mm,
So
that's
cool.
cool.
So
I have
powerful.
yeah.
It was so amazing. Like poof. And I just turned my back and said, this is what I'm choosing.
That's so awesome. You literally chose your own future.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think that changed so many things
Mm-hmm.
because it put me in that space where I know I'm the creator.
Yeah, you know your
Mm-hmm.
power. You
Yeah.
you have harnessed it. You specifically harnessed your power, which is awesome. That's crazy. That is such a cool story.
It is,
And I'm glad you're here with
and
us.
yeah, and it has triggered me to start doing this again and to find a way because I don't think it was not that I did not want to, I just could not see the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about timing, really.
Yeah.
Because, all the astrology we have had this first 5 months has been for all of us to reassess and take out of our lives the things that are not aligned with our higher self anymore. So this is not just me. My situation has been very drastic and very beautiful in the sense that it's very clear. It gives clarity to people about the process, but that's my life and that's how my gene keys describe my life. Like my life would look for other people to be like a Hollywood story, and I know I sometimes tell people things that have happened to me. I'm like, I have have I lived so many things? Job, because me overcoming so many things in my life gives me the ability to stand here and say you can do this too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All of you can do this. And it's so dramatic that it makes it easy for me to pass it on and show you this is what it's all about. It's
Mm-hmm.
about understanding that fear has no place in our process of creation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And
But
I
it's
like,
unconscious.
oh, sorry.
It's so unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. I think it's something that we have to actively train ourselves to move out of thinking in fear space. And what is it, like the lizard brain and or the reptilian brain and all of that, and like the analytical, the fear, and then move into the higher thinking and like the possibilities and the trust. And I think your story and it being so dramatic is really impactful and also creates space for it doesn't have to be that dramatic for everyone to experience very similar or yeah the same benefits of like aligning with purpose, of moving out of fear space, of seeing that we do have choices for how we are going to exist in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I dealt with for a long time of like, oh, I don't have, and now I've had like big experiences, but for a while it was like, oh, if I don't have like a near death experience, like am I ever going to be like a really spiritual person? And it took me, it was hard to like move out of that. What would you say to someone that's like, I'm just doing life and I want to be spiritual but I don't feel like I have like this really strong connection?
Good.
I mean, I think that the most important thing for people to understand is that we need to work with our shadows. If you
Mm,
can have all those spiritual experiences, but if you're doing spiritual bypassing, it doesn't matter. Like I know so many yoga instructors. I'm sorry, they're all about the posture, but when you see how they behave and how they handle their lives, I'm sorry, you're in no position to lead anyone. Like, I mean, I have such a what they call like a imposter syndrome. Like for
mm,
me, it's so hard to do what I'm doing right now. You have no idea,
uh,
because I'm such a perfectionist and I have such high standards for myself. I do for other people too, but I want to do it the right way.
mm-hmm,
And I think this experience gave me no option. They were like, it's like you have you have to. Like I
mm-hmm,
would have never talked about something like this before because I was the psychiatrist.
right.
You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Even though I was doing the past life regression therapy and everybody knew, I mean, I've been called bruja forever, which means witch. Like since always. My friends, they all call me bruji. Like because I'm so psychic and I'm always in this like thing. But those are the people close to me. But my public persona, for me to talk about these things, I have never done this before. Because
Mm,
I
Awesome.
think that what's going on and what this has made me, what has happened is that I am embodying. It's like so my higher self just came back with me and it's being anchored. I'm not there yet 100%, but I think it's all about the emanation. It's all about me being totally authentic in who I am and the experience that I've had in my life. And that is what is going to help other people do the same. They're going to have totally different experiences, but you have to be totally authentic.
Yes.
And
yes.
the shadow work, what it does is makes you be vigilant about your own subconscious behaviors so you can, instead of react from fear, because
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah. It's
make space and then decide how are you going to react to this? How are you going to act in this life? That is the real spiritual work. It's not about having visions. Those come when you clear out your shadow.
Ooh, that's true. And it does speak volumes to have you speaking out and to the open and to the public about spirituality and helping others learn how to find their voice and how to find that intuition. That's a good point. Clearing the shadows is going to be a great first step to anything. You can't do anything without working on
Oh,
yourself in those shadows first.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can pray all day, but when you stop praying and you go see your wife and you say mean things to her, what are you doing?
You know,
exactly.
I feel this in my bones because there have been, and I think this podcast has really helped me with holding myself accountable because I feel this way whenever I go to do something and I feel like it could be on the borderline of ethical. I'm like, I don't know if I
Uh-huh.
should be doing this, or I don't know, is it rude to say that to somebody? Am I just being rude? It's more about being authentic and like finding myself, but also it's not goddess energy. Like that's kind of a way that I hold myself accountable. Like, you know, do the work, but you can't say the thing and then act a different way. If I'm not acting like a goddess and with the goddess behavior, then who am I to be talking on this podcast like I am one?
Yeah.
And you're gonna fail over and over and over again. But the point is, when you're looking at yourself and you're making space, because there's another thing, you have to make space.
Mm-hmm.
In order to
That's
make
true.
space, you need to take a step back in the moment and look at yourself, or a little after the moment, recapacitate, like think about it, and then come back and be accountable with the person you did whatever you did and have the conversation.
Mhm.
That's where the growth is.
Yep.
I always tell people these are the two things I'm always looking for. I'm looking for my mechanic instantaneous responses. And those are the ones I need to stop right there. When I feel the impulse to do something or the impulse to say something impulsively, I need
Mm,
to stop and think about it, because probably it's my subconscious and my previous scripts trying to come forward. And then
mm,
the other thing I need to be aware of is those places where I find resistance to say or do something, because those are the places where I'm uncomfortable and those are where I'm growing.
Hmm.
So I need to really think, do I need to push myself to do this or say this? Because I'm not being authentic. Am I afraid to lose people's approval or their love? Or I am being afraid of saying something because their feelings are going to be hurt when I need to say it. How do I say it without trying not to hurt your feelings? But sometimes people's feelings get hurt no matter what, if
right.
you're saying something that they don't want to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
you know so those two spaces is when you feel an impulse, hold back, and when you feel resistance, look at it.
Mhm.
Should you? Are you? Is this something that's going to make you grow? But you have to have that process first, right?
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You got to learn how to filter out the bad apples too. Whenever you get those hesitations to respond, this is something that I talk about a lot. If the universe makes it easy for me, then I think it's a signal to go ahead and do the thing that I'm wanting to do. But if there is a lot of resistance, then it's usually the universe telling me to take a step back and not make that decision. Maybe rethink
Mhm.
about it, and it's hard sometimes to filter out the bad.
And that's when you
But
space, because you need guidance.
yeah,
You know, like
Delia,
I
oh, go
this
ahead.
this last 2 nights, both nights, I've been waking up 3 nights. 2 nights I woke up at 3:30, 3:40, and this morning 5 a.m. This morning they allowed me to sleep in. So 3 days before I've been hearing the book, and it was the Gene Keys too. Go back to it. The second night I woke up at 3:30. I went into the Gene Keys book. I went through a rabbit hole and I found the meditation that I needed to incorporate the whole thing that I needed to incorporate. And I
Yes,
just
nice.
I love that.
because that's you follow your intuition. They're waking me up at 3:30. There's a reason. I'm not gonna stay in bed. I'm gonna figure out what it is that I need to do. And
Yes.
it's
Like,
all about embodiment of that energy. Those cities, those beautiful energies are coming. how do you incorporate them and make them active in your system and refer back to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your brain doesn't know the difference between your imagination and reality. So once you start doing those meditations and you're activating your star curve and you're activating the cities and the gifts that come with it, and you imagine your star curve, you're activating that in the moment, in the situation that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. Everything is here.
That's true.
So those scripts are the ones you're creating.
Yeah.
And those scripts, if you think you're worthless, what do you think you're going to create?
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yes, our thoughts create our reality. It is absolutely true. And something I think about when I'm worrying, that's just like hoping for the bad outcome because it's spending the same amount of energy as expecting that it's going to be awesome or, wishing for the good, hoping for the good, all of these things. And what I'm getting out of all of this, it's like the through line here is when you are aligned with your purpose, no matter what happens, if it's waking up in the middle of the night, you are like, that you're aligned with your purpose. I woke up. Okay, this means that there's something for me here to learn. If we're experiencing resistance with saying something to someone, if I can like look at the lens, is what I want to say aligned with my purpose? Like, is it achieving that? Which mine is, I'm here to embody joy as my most authentic self, to inspire and guide others to do the same. Is that aligned with it? Yes. Then I say the thing. And that's like where is the resistance might just be a fear. If it doesn't feel aligned with that, then that resistance is like the protection of this isn't the time to say it. And so, yeah. And I love also what you said about creating space. That has been so on my heart and not like in my journal, creating beautiful space and like physically and mentally and spiritually. What can I let go of? So everything you're saying feels very good. I've been
Let me
doing
tell you something. In May, I moved. I was living in Mandarin when I moved to Jacksonville, close to a friend of mine who's I've been friends since I'm 14. But because I didn't know anyone, I came to Jacksonville. Okay, but her life is so different from mine. Like, I mean, she's mountain biking and she's like in book clubs that read like books that I'm not. Like, initially it was okay, but there came a point. I'm a painter. I'm an artist too. Like, you can see one of my paintings back there.
I love it. It's
So
pretty.
thank you. That's the current one, and the paintings follow what's been going on with me. Like, it's so
Mhm.
weird. So at one point, I said I want to move to Avondale because, I mean, this is where the artists are, where everything that I like to do is like, and it was so much resistance from everyone. Like, they couldn't understand because I lived 3 doors down from my friend. But I'm like, but that's not my life. That's your life,
Yeah.
and understand it. And it cost me a lot, and I had to let go of a lot of things to do
Mm.
that. And I also stopped drinking. Like, I had received 2 years ago that I needed to get alcohol out of my life
Yeah.
before I could have a big change, and I just followed it. And I had stopped, like, slowly. It just went away. And like you, I couldn't fathom my life without alcohol because it's very cultural for Puerto Ricans. We drink. It's part of the life, party, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all drinking and partying and the beer and this and that.
Like I'm gonna dance
You know,
without
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, Bad
Yep.
Bunny, you know. Yeah,
And guess what? We still can. But yeah.
and it was hard because people around me. But then when I moved, and I some of the friendships that I already had started to develop, most of my friends that live here, they don't drink at all.
I've noticed that in Jacksonville, there's a lot of people that don't drink, which is awesome. There's actually near Avondale. Well, I'm still so
Wildcraft
new.
lives.
I don't know the area that well. I don't think it's near Avondale, actually. Oh, I don't know.
Wildcraft.
5 Point.
It's a bar.
Wow.
They have a bar.
Well, Wildflower. That's so cool. They have a booze-free bar, like just to go hang out.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Friend, there's my friend. Like, I know him. He's from Venezuela.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, that's so awesome.
that's awesome.
Well, I've been wanting to go
yeah.
check it out because my husband is Venezuelan and he doesn't drink. So
That was mine.
we just haven't been there
He
yet.
doesn't do
Really nice, and they have really nice activities that are aligned with the spirituality, and I mean,
Nice.
they're amazing.
exciting. There's a shift happening. I'm
Yes,
so
I love
excited
it.
about this.
The thing with me is that I'm usually prepared because I receive so much and I obey immediately. And this
Mhm.
is something, being such a rebellious spiritual warrior that I am, because two of my gene keys are the two of the spiritual warriors that can kill anyone if they're like, I don't have this energy. This is why I'm so energetic, and I have, and I'm very. When I say something, people obey me because I have that authority because it comes from those deities. I the two of them, not one. I have the both.
That's awesome. That's
Both.
awesome.
But there's a reason, right? Because I
Mhm.
have had to go against a lot. But then when spirit talks to me, I'm so freaking obedient.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gives me an advantage in the sense that I'm always ready. Because
Yes.
I will obey.
Ooh, that's
Yes.
I will do it, you know?
mm-hmm.
Huge. And you're always ready. Like that was something I worked with a shaman when I was in college, and this was like at the very beginning of my like energy journey, or at least understanding being conscious about it. And she didn't drink, and she was like, I have to be clear at all times. Like I receive downloads all the time, and I was just like, okay, that's nice. Like didn't really get it. And now that I'm on the other side, and how I've had countless mentors and life coaches be like, babe, this is what you want to do. This is something that needs to be removed from your life. And it was so, I had so much resistance for so long. And now I understand. And it's like, I'm on the other side and like, oh my God, yeah, I couldn't receive like the full information and integrate it in the way that I needed to if I had like poison present in me. And it
Mm-hmm.
was really wild. And I'm so
It's
grateful on this.
poison because that's exactly what I tell people. Alcohol is poison.
Yeah, it is.
And now we see it, but before I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm like, what? This is making everything fun. What do you mean? It's not
Yeah.
poison. It's and now it's like it literally does not one good thing for you.
Yeah.
Um,
I've been loving to watch the trends of like the fancy waters. I keep getting these reels on my TikTok and on Instagram of like the big clear cups that they'll put the cup down and then they'll fill it with like some like berries or some cute little balls of something. And then they'll like mix in some blue drink and then mix in some yellow drink and then some like clear drink. And then it's just like, and it looks delicious. I don't know
it's
what it is, but it looks amazing.
beautiful. All the functional stuff like adaptogens, nootropics, botanicals, herbs, all of these things now that I'm like ingesting that I never have before
Mhm.
to like replace the alcohol, and I feel better, and I'm yeah, it's just adding more goodness into my
True.
life. Yes.
And those are
And
things I love
myself.
about this generation and the newer generations. Like I love the openness, and I know that we were the trailblazers, basically opening all this because it was not like no one would talk about this. So we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have the information that is available today.
So much.
We were just acting from total intuition and from the people before us that would show us the way in a way, right?
Mhm.
Um, but it
That
was
makes
like,
it more powerful. What how like your story
Yes.
because you didn't have all the gurus and everyone on Instagram and everywhere. Like you really had to trust.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Let me
Wow.
tell you something. After I graduated from my residency, I was a black sheep in my residency because, first of all, I wouldn't take any shit from anyone. I didn't care if it was the director of the program. Don't mess with me. Like, do not. You know, no. Like, I've always been like that. Do not mess with me. Um, but then I was so ahead of my time that they didn't understand anything that I was doing. The thing is that because I was such a good student, they couldn't do anything with me. But I was with my tarot and doing my things, and I had two Jungian analysts at the time. So I did Jungian analysis through my residency, which no one else had done because there were
Yeah.
only two in Puerto Rico, and they were like, no one has ever has showed interest. I'm like, yeah, well, I love it. Um, you know, this is
So
what I do, so it was like it was going against the grain. But then, like, maybe 20 years later, before I moved, one day I was in a restaurant, and the program director was in the restaurant, and she approached me, and she came to me and talked to me and said, I just want to say I'm sorry because I didn't understand you and you were so ahead of your time that now 20 years later I understand what you were doing. And she invited me to give a lecture in the university about past life regression therapy to the psychiatry resident.
Yeah,
You know,
that's so
20
cool.
years later. I'm like, okay, 20 years later, yeah.
Well, at
What
least,
a testament to just like, if you know in your heart, listeners, like follow your intuition, even if every single person around you says you're crazy. And maybe it's a day later, maybe it's 20 years later, it will come to fruition. Like the work that you're doing is not for naught.
mm-hmm.
But that's not the reason you have to do it. You have to do
No.
it first of all because you're following spirit. And the other thing with purpose is you have to do it because you love humanity. You cannot have any agendas, any personal agendas in this.
It has to
It's
be
all
from service and love.
Mm-hmm.
exam. And that's another thing. And even if you found a business, you have to work your business in the higher frequency that you have. There's this frequency of service that a lot of businesses have, but there's a higher, even higher frequency, which is about cooperation, and it's
Mhm.
about the individuals in the business, each of them being able to express their authenticity and their genius through the
Mhm.
placement they have in that business and
Yes.
allowing them to be creative and to have the authority that they need to do their job correctly. And
Mhm.
that's another level of respect and honor towards the souls of the people we are working with. And that's where we're headed. We're
Yes.
still in the format of the service, you know, but
Mhm.
there's another level
Yeah.
Yes.
that's developed and it's being developed at this point. That is very
Which I think is super interesting and impactful about how you're handling your business too. Like the idea of spirituality blended with psychiatry and being able to address a person holistically is really powerful. And I wish that more I wish that there was that availability in more areas, more people that had the benefit of having somebody that is trained in the modern medicine, but also can incorporate the spirituality aspect. I never found
yes.
that in Tulsa.
No, there's doctors here. Like there's like also like with not only psychiatry, but in medicine in general that do
Yes,
have
medicine in
some
general. Hmm.
an intuition. There's a lot of curious, like they will not. I don't think that's a good thing. For me, it's always been very interesting because I am a scientist, but I'm an artist too. So I've
Mhm.
always used sides of my brain. Like I would be reading philosophy in med school, like Nietzsche, and people would look at me like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "No, you're crazy because you're the side of your brain. You need to use the other side. You need to." This other imagination kind of philosophical side, artistic
Will
side.
help you think about these concrete things so much better. Like,
Literally use your
yeah,
brain.
It's
totally.
about walking that middle path, that middle way. It's balance. You can't be totally here or total. You cannot be an artist and a spiritualist and be broke and not be able to pay your bills. You have to do those both things.
Right.
Yeah.
Part of being balanced and being effective in the world as a spiritual warrior, right?
Hmm.
And like, if you want to do that, that means that you can't operate in a way that society has set up. So like, because like you're saying, so many people in med school think it's crazy that you would be reading philosophy because society has set up med school, science, logic, analytical, only one place. But you, Delia, are connected with your intuition and with your higher self and your purpose. And so you know that yes, you can operate in this way and this is important, and you're not going to do just what anyone tells you to do or what they expect of you, but what your intuition is saying as you're learning
Hmm.
and moving in the world. And that is what is required for anyone, I think, wanting to strengthen both sides of their brain. And yeah, I think I said, did that make sense what I was trying to say?
Yeah,
And the other fact that's very important is we're all women. Like
Mm,
we're so much more in touch with that holistic.
yes.
that's true.
Yeah.
I even find in like the role of, no, it's kind of a sidebar, but I'm thinking about like even in the work aspect, whenever I'm thinking about customer success, like what that entails, it's not about sales. It's not about customer service and appealing to the customer, making sure that they're just happy. That's not the goal. The goal is to make sure that the customer is successful. Without them being successful, I can't be successful. And it applies in every single business sentiment. But I have also noticed that, females in the role seem to understand and grasp that concept a lot better than my male counterparts. Not that there's anything wrong with the male counterparts. They're still great and fabulous at their jobs. But I think it's harder for them to fully understand what the job entails and what the idea of it is. How do we make the customer successful? It's not because we sold them this big order that they're going to be successful because they used our whatever. It's because we gave them the tools that they needed to be good at what they're doing, and we analyzed their entire situation, just like holistic medicine, looking at the person as a whole, looking at their spirituality, looking at their physical analysis, their mental analysis, all of that and comes into play and can be a completely different diagnosis in the end, and something that can better align your health in the end, and your higher being, higher whatever calling, purpose. I
Yeah,
hope that
and
makes sense.
that's another podcast. But what I think has happened is like in the 60s, like with women's revolution, we did incorporate our masculine side as women.
Mm-hmm.
Like we incorporated a lot of the, go out in the world, make your own money, educate yourself, control your emotions, be more logical, like all that we have incorporated. But the male revolution has not happened. I think it's starting to happen now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because women, we have changed so much, and your generation, my daughter, I mean, like, if she doesn't get married, she doesn't care. If she doesn't have good children, she doesn't care. Of course, she was raised by a woman who has been telling her, "You do, you do," you know, and do not subscribe to it, because I have never subscribed to any man trying to dominate me or control me. That will never happen. And the moment it starts to happen, they are out the door, because that will not happen. You know what I mean? So, but I know that men are being forced to look at themselves and start to develop their feminine side,
Mm-hmm.
and it's starting to happen. And you can see a lot of coaches and therapists starting to talk to other men about being present and not being defensive, and get out of your head and open your heart and be more receptive, like the receptivity of the femininity. It's starting to happen.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. One of my friends, oh, sorry, was someone saying something?
Hmm.
I was just going to say that Devin, we had him on our podcast. I think it was like episode 2 or 3, and he is a life coach as well, and was doing some relationship coaching, and has kind of shifted into men's intuition coaching and helping them connect with their intuition and their inner knowing. Is that something that like we're like women's intuition, men whatever, and it's like, oh no, there is, you have that as well. And how powerful would it be to have all of these powerful men actually tuning in
Yes.
and connecting in that way? It's really
That was
exciting.
such a good
I mean,
episode.
it's transforming. We are living an amazing time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's amazing what's going on. I love it. I think it's amazing. There's things that are scary, of course, but you cannot put your attention on that.
Mm-hmm.
100%, right? We need to monitor, but you can't. You have to see the big picture, the huge thing that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
happening.
women had to put their masculine traits at the forefront just because of, the way that the revolution was happening so fast, especially like technology and roads and cars, everything. Everything happened so fast and men were dominant in that role at first, but then there has been like a feminine rising I feel like in the last couple of decades. It's been amazing. But it does highlight the need for people like Devin in our lives, because we need
Yes.
more men, intuitive teachers, healers, people
Yes.
that can guide our husbands, our brothers, our
Yes.
friends to something that is a more caring lifestyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because men will not listen to women unless it's Alexa with a male voice.
That was so fun.
Exactly right. Exactly
But
right.
it's true, like they have more difficulty receiving from a woman because of the patriarchy. Like they're used to, no, we are the ones that have the control and the knowledge and all that. It's a wise man that will listen to their wives.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Yeah, and like the wisest men and men that I really admire, it's not like they're like, oh, the woman's always right, or saying it in any frivolous way, but like I have friends that's like, oh, she is wise. Like women, I always go to women for this. Like it was just the way I can think of like two, three different guys in my life, and just the way that they honor women beyond just like a thing of beauty, and but like actual like women, not just like one woman, but they understand,
Hmm.
like, and have like I think broken free from kind of like the chains and the thought process of patriarchy.
Hmm.
um and those are the wisest men, and they seem to be the most like enlightened men, and men that are like, I don't know, they're just moving different in the world, and I love being around them, and I want to be
Yeah.
want to like cultivate that in more men. How can we, I don't know, how can we as women support our male counterparts in this journey, whether it's like waking them up or
Yeah.
holding them accountable or calling things out? What do you think, Delia?
Well, I can only talk by experience. Alexa, shut off. That's the other alarm for the sourdough. Alexa, shut off. My house is completely automated. I mean, I can only, what I can only say is that when I've had these issues with my boyfriend, and my boyfriend is a very sweet man, nurturing, very loving. He's Venus is in Cancer, so he's all about. He has that feminine energy there, right? But still, I mean, he comes from a family, Puerto Rican family, and it's a brothers and sisters. Six are male, so there's a dominancy of the male in the house and in the family. They were patriarchs that had a lot of land and a lot of, it was a family with men are strong, right? Um, his mother is also a strong woman and like an amazing woman. So he has a lot of admiration for his mother and sisters. But whenever we've had an issue where it's like I tell him, sexism is even worse than racism because
Mm-hmm.
it's so integrated in our daily lives, we don't see it. And we as women, sometimes we can't see it either. It's very hard sometimes to put yourself in a place where you say, wait, that was very sexist. So the only thing that I have found is like come back at him in a loving way, but being very clear about how what he's doing or saying is very sexist.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
And
holding them accountable.
with that with that acknowledgement that it's not his fault necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so ingrained in the culture and in the system that
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard to see. So the way I think it helped him a lot is like I told him patriarchy is like a religion, and they have a set of principles by which they work. Like for example, I was one day in a party and he was not. And there was this guy and he asked me for my Instagram. I am an artist. He was a photographer, so I gave it to him. Like, I'm okay. I knew he was like a little interested, but I was not. So I don't care. Follow me on it. I don't care. So he had like an issue with it. And I said, why do we have an issue? I don't understand. What if it gets on you? So what? I'm not going to answer. So what? Do you think he's going to put it in me without me consenting? It's not going to happen. Like, what are you
Yeah.
thinking? Like, what is the problem? I don't see it. So he started said, you know what? I don't subscribe to your religion, and your religion is called patriarchy. This thing I have between my legs, I own. I decide who comes in and who doesn't, and no one is gonna force their way into my vagina without my permission.
Amen.
True.
That is very patriarchal thought that you need to protect me from someone putting their appendage inside my vagina. You don't have to protect me from that.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
True.
Protect myself. I can give my Instagram to everyone, and no one is gonna get inside my vagina. I'm sorry.
Right.
True.
Exactly right. Oh, yeah.
It's up to me. So what are you talking about? And then it was like he went like, "Oh, you're so right." I'm like, "Of
Yeah.
course."
I know.
I
I
don't
know.
practice religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So letting him understand these are things that are part of your religion, thinking that women are totally, oh, they're gonna push themselves into their no.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I didn't have any control over that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is important
They're
to
all
call
the
them
same.
out, though. I agree. I stand by that
He
wholeheartedly.
was
I
yeah.
love that you said, out of love and to understand with the like lens that like, hey, this isn't your fault.
Yes.
Okay. Society has pounded this into you.
Yes.
And I'm gonna call you out and let you know that it's actually not true. And I love
Yeah,
you.
Mhm.
Like that's
exactly. And thank you for trying to protect me, but I don't need your
yeah.
protection.
Yep.
Yes.
I appreciate it,
Hmm.
but I
So
don't need. I've been doing this for 60 years by myself.
It's gonna be okay.
I was like, wow, how on earth did I make it so long without
Yeah.
you?
Yeah,
It was a fluke. Like,
but with your shield on your sword, I don't know. I'm happy. I have a lot to give, and I have a lot of it. I'm just ahead for 40 years or 30 years. That's it. Like I've been doing this for so long. You know what I mean? I mean,
Hmm.
30 years of just doing this, and I have never had any options. Like my life has always been about this.
mm,
Since I had that experience with that angel, yes, I've had relationships, but no one can interfere with my mission and my purpose. Like when
mm,
I was at that time doing the past life regression therapies and doing Course in Miracles and having the groups and doing radio station and initiating people into Reiki, like I had all this like maybe 20 years that were just about that.
mm.
This is another phase. Like in this phase, what I need to do is to embody and radiate.
Yes.
And that's what I need to do right now. And
Yay.
that's what
I feel so lucky to know you in this space and to be
Me too.
someone to experience
no,
the radiating goodness. Yeah, and just like universal truth that you are just showering us with. I love it.
Hmm.
that's
So, oh, sorry.
that's so sweet. Thank you.
Oh,
That's so sweet.
It's true.
it's truth.
It's true. I feel lucky that the universe drew me to you.
Oh, you're so
No, very
sweet. Thank
lucky.
you. I appreciate that.
That's
I
something
appreciate
that we've gotten to really experience on this podcast. It's just like how the universe connects us to the other souls on the same mission. And we're all doing it in different ways, but we are all trying to lift this consciousness, bring us into the new reality, shift the paradigm. And yeah, I just feel so lucky to be sitting here and yeah, to get to sit with you and so many amazing people. Yeah, changing the world.
Same.
Really.
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody with their own mission, their own genius.
I'm sorry.
What?
Everybody with each person with their own mission and their own genius.
Yes.
Yes, we will
Doing
raise it collectively.
cooperating. That's the future. Community, cooperation, that's the future.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I can't agree more. Yeah. Seriously. And especially with like AI and everything, there's all these playing fields that used to be where people got their status from are getting leveled. I just keep saying this, and I just think our ability to connect with other humans is what's really going to set us apart. That's what's going to be most impactful, like moving forward. It's not how fast can you calculate numbers or how do you analyze something. It's like, how are you able to connect with other humans and help each other grow and love harder and create and cooperate and collaborate. Yeah.
Yep.
Bring the magic.
Yes.
Bring the magic.
Be a portal to the miracles.
Ooh.
That's when you're seated in your star burn and you're just emanating that energy, things happen around you.
Ooh.
And you can ask the people around me. It's like one of my mentors, he said, hanging out with you is like hanging out with a Ouija board that is constantly active and doing things. And I'm like, oh, you're telling me, come on.
It's true.
All the time, like strange, like synchronicities and healings and things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me. It's what I tell people. It's not me. I'm just out of the way.
Yeah, that's true. No barrier.
Yeah. Exactly.
You broke it down.
And it just flows through you like you are a vessel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true. Yeah. I love it.
When I'm not out of the way, I feel it.
Yeah.
It's like block it. I feel like, oh, you're blocking this. Get out of the way. And I realize immediately I'm in my mind. I'm watching something, or I have an agenda and the thing is not going the way I thought it should go. And that's when I let it go and say, it's perfect. Let me let it go. Let me enjoy the moment and connect with the people around me, and things will start to flow. And then the magic starts happening.
Yes. That's awesome.
So you have to be on top of yourself all the time, like doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely been leaning into it. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, babe. No.
I was just gonna say, like, I've definitely learned to like lean into those moments, and Jesus also leans on me whenever we're in a pickle or don't know what we should be doing. He'll always tell you, like, listen to Silver. I'm just a bystander. But it's important because like listening to those moments, and then whenever they follow through, you understand where you're at in your alignment too. I think it's a little bit of validation to know that all the work that you're doing isn't for naught.
And it compounds on each other. Like even from a scientific, like the neural pathways in our brain, the more that we're meditating and creating that space there, or the more that we're focusing, like connecting to our purpose, thinking up, that just gets stronger on like on a physical level, and that also affects us spiritually and energetically.
Exactly.
And it's in the daily grinding that you find triggers that trigger the ego instead of being in that energy, that from the other side. Yeah. And those triggers, that's the shadow work, basically, because you don't respond from shadow unless you're triggered.
Right.
True.
So that's what you need to identify. What are your triggers? What are the things that bring you to your previous scripts that come from childhood and come from your wounds? Once you understand those triggers, instead of reacting from there and going into your mind and the defensiveness and the fear and the attack and all that it entails, you take a step back, you make space, and then you go back into your authority and your pearl or whatever you want to go, whatever that shadow specifically is leading to, even if you're judging or you're whatever it is. And then choose to respond from a higher level.
Yes.
Yes.
I love what you said there, because and that's something that I've been thinking about a little bit over the past couple of weeks, are like, where can I take accountability for my triggers? And like when we are triggered by something, we're not operating from our highest self. We're operating from that, like you said, that previous narrative, the shadow, the work that we haven't done yet. And so if I can identify, like you said, my shadows, and I identify where I might be triggered moving forward, identify that, work on that, then when a situation presents that I might be triggered by, I can identify it as that, know that I've worked through it, and then operate from the higher power. So basically I just said what you just said. So like work, you see it in my brain.
But it's hard in the moment because you're triggered
Yeah.
and you're right there.
Yeah.
That's where the heroic part of ourselves has to come up. Like, okay, this is not who I wanted to be. This is who I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's true.
I'm going to
Acknowledging it.
from here, from fear, or from love. It's always the same choice, right? It's always going to be the same choice. It's just that in the moment, once you're triggered, you are in that space of defensiveness and protection and closing your heart and going into those spaces that the ego makes you feel it's trying to protect you, when really what it's doing is making things more complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just adding to the fire. It's not doing anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's really good.
Yeah.
How do you think that we would like identify? Yeah, how do I start by like identifying our shadows? Is it like, do we have to get triggered by something and then be like, oh, that's what I'm triggered by? That's where it starts. Okay.
This is what
Okay.
this is why, how do you get more spiritual? Just be present.
Yeah.
That's it. But being present is hard because when you are experiencing painful emotions, you don't want to experience them.
Yeah.
I recently had an event where I went into a space that it was like so interesting because I felt so confused.
Mm.
And I could see myself as a little child dealing with my crazy mother. She will never hear this, I hope. who has a personality disorder, right? It's Buster B kind of borderline narcissistic kind of
Mm.
person. I grew up in a very difficult environment, emotionally speaking. Like, it was very chaotic. Because my father was a narcissist, not a malignant one, but he was an only child and very narcissistic. And my mother was a borderline narcissistic and antisocial tendency. So it's like very chaotic, and I am the oldest one. And of course, as we are born with this bodhicitta, I was all about protecting my little sister, so I would take all of it, or try to protect her, right? Because I felt it's not as strong as I was, But that was a gift,
Mm.
because it made me such an independent person and to question things very early. Oh my God, these people are crazy.
Yeah. And you started off radically self-reliant.
Yeah, totally. You know, and it was like a very good schooling. And that confusion that I would feel, because you're like, what just happened? Why am I having this reaction what did I do? Right? And then you feel responsible for everything, because that's how the dynamic is, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that confusion, and it was like an epiphany. Like, then I understood, oh, when I feel this confused, is I'm asking myself if I triggered this, if I caused this. But I
Mm.
did. That was all you. So I just detached completely and say, no, that's your stuff. You
Mhm.
do. But it
Yeah.
was so obvious to me how that trigger, that situation took me back, and I was not aware of how confused I can feel when someone reacts in a certain way to me when I did nothing to cause that. But I
Mm.
feel responsible no matter what. And then now I'm liberated from that. Like, now I see it, right?
Yes.
If you don't see it, you see it.
Yeah.
Because that might have come when I was 1 year old.
Yeah.
When I started to figure out what did I do to create this crazy reaction from this lady. 2 years old. So it's so unconscious, and it's like I would say when I was doing regressions that people store information in what is this the one that you make presentations with the program
PowerPoint.
with in PowerPoint until you're 7, and after 6 or 7 you start to store information in Word. So that's why those memories from past lives and from when you're 6 or 7 and younger, you have to go through hypnosis to find, because you're storing them in emotion and what you're seeing. You're not storing them verbally.
Okay.
Because you have words, but you don't have all the words. You're
Right.
more in tune with your beingness and being totally present in the moment. And then after 7, we start to develop our mental bodies more. So we start to intellectualize more things and put them in words.
Interesting.
But with that situation, I went back to the confusion and the fear, and I went back to that. It was very confusing.
Yeah.
It was a word. Oh, it was very early memory that it triggered.
Wow.
Because it's totally different from the memories that you have after 7.
Which just makes me think, so as being somebody that you practice past life regression, but and the therapy sessions, but how do you go through that?
Oh God, like I think that when you're doing this as a job, when I was doing it, they would come to me. Like they would come to me so easy. Like in dreams, or if I was getting a massage, I would go into the slide. Or I mean, I know like probably like 30 of my past lives. Like I've seen them, I know them.
Okay.
That makes
A lot.
sense to me.
Yeah, it does.
That you would be like in that, because it's an energy
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you're in
Yeah.
and you're facilitating for other people. So if you're in that energy portal vortex a lot, then you're connected to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in another podcast, we can talk about the dream I had before I met Brian Weiss, because that was wild.
Okay. I'm so excited.
And
Yeah.
how he responded, and when I told him the dream, what he said, I'm like, okay, yeah.
Oh,
No,
Yes.
no,
I can't wait to hear about it.
because I think it's because I've been so obedient. Like they give me things all the time. Like here, go do it. Here, go do it. And I would, being as rebellious as I am not rebellious towards spirit. I'm not.
yeah. That's so powerful, and a theme that I see in a lot of spiritual leaders and guides, that they like it. What am I trying to say? The obedience piece, the just like full trust, is like the absolute key to, I mean, their power, their influence, and their impact on their purpose and like service to the world. And it can be like all different kinds of spirituality, really. Like my mother-in-law she's very religious, and she is like a Jewish, but kind of not Jewish in the way that like I've always known it. I don't know, just different, but very religious, very connected to higher power, and for her calls God. And I think there's like a lot, from personally, I think there's a lot of different names for it and all these things, but she also is extremely connected and has like angelic experiences and has like clairvoyance and like lots of the same things that you have shared with us today. And it's like in a very different modality, but the obedience and trust and love and service. She's not someone out here, judging and pointing fingers, and a lot of things that I've experienced with religion growing up. And so, yeah, that just really, I think that's an interesting thing. It's like this trust and total
So
obedience to the higher power.
yes, yes, surrender. You have to surrender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't think about it. Like you can't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many moments like when I moved to the United States afterwards, like before the hurricane, that I had doubts, but I would always go back to that dream. And same thing with my, when that experience with the angel, they're the points in the quantum leading your life. And we talked about about this before. Like this experience has also made me be more and more aware that what I really need to be aware are the synchronicities and the points that are in a higher frequency, and the rest that is happening in this plane, in between those points, I really don't have to care much because the process is going to happen. I know we're going from this point to this point at some point. How we get there is not my business. That's spirit's business.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But you have to remind yourself of that. And when I left Puerto Rico and when I had that dream, and I had to renounce to my TV and my radio and the influence I already had in Puerto Rico, I had been chosen holistic psychologist of the year, and I'm not a psychologist. I'm like, how am I getting a prize that's not even for my profession?
They're like, we want to give you everything. I don't.
Like how? I'm not supposed to get it. Like I was almost like, no, don't give it to me. But whatever, you know.
But yeah, like I mean, the courage, the like total trust, and yeah, and leaving not leaving a bad situation, not leaving just an okay situation, leaving like people's dream about that life,
Right.
that lifestyle, and having that influence and everything. And you were like, this is great,
But we got
but this is here, and I don't know what it looks like, but I'm gonna do it. And
Yeah. And I was told at that time, like in that dream, also that they said, "Don't worry, you're gonna get ready for a higher level of influence.
yeah.
Eventually, this is coming.
Hmm.
How it would come or how it will come, because it hasn't come yet. I know that's where I'm headed, and this is what all this has triggered, right? That's where I'm headed. How it's gonna happen, I don't know. I just know I need to do my job.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
for you to decide.
I,
Yes, it's like
it will,
free, because
Yeah.
people get really stuck in like it has to look like this or it has to be this, and like when we get stuck in this just like one way of doing things, we miss out on all of the magic and opportunities and actually potentially other paths that are meant for us.
Mm-hmm.
And also something like to touch on what you said, when we are called to make that courageous leap and to just take that soul jump, it is always for something better. Like it might not look like it immediately or even a few months afterwards, but it is always 100% of the time something better.
Yep.
We're being called to follow our purpose, follow higher power. Yeah, and that gives me a lot of like ease in the chaos and the restlessness of just regular life.
but you see how you have to sacrifice something. And I go again, how my life has been so dramatic, and it's very dramatic and very evident what I had to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
I had to leave behind my persona.
Mm.
I had to leave behind all this, you know, already like I had built everything that I had built.
And that comes.
I had to leave it out,
Yeah.
you know. But then I was so grateful when I came here and after the hurricane, I could see how I had been spared
Mm-hmm.
from so much pain and suffering, and my children had been spared.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
And
positive.
financially, I was in a good place because I was here instead of having to deal with everything that they had to deal for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still dealing with the consequences of that hurricane. That has not completely gone away.
Yeah. 2018
So there's
that far.
a sacrifice. Whenever you want to go to a higher frequency, there's something you need to sacrifice and leave behind.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It's true.
Yeah. This is so good. This has been such an incredible conversation, and like my brain is racing with all of these like, really yummy
Right?
things.
There's so much information. I love it.
Yeah,
Anytime, I'm telling you, I do enjoy it immensely.
Yeah.
we're definitely going to have you back on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just way too much
Right.
to like talk about on just one episode. So would love to know from you as we're closing out, Delia, what is like Okay, two things. One, what is one ritual that you swear by? And two, what is one thing that you want to leave our listeners with?
That I want to leave your listeners with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. My ritual, something I do like every day. I meditate every morning,
Mm.
and I do it with tarot. Like that's my thing. My meditations are always a conversation with tarot, and for me, it's very. I mean, I have other rituals, and I do other types of meditations during the day, like make space, like small spaces all through the day. And I'm very aware of that. And I have timers in my phone to just take 3 minutes and meditate on things.
Mm.
But the morning one, I journal every day and I have a conversation every morning with my tarot and some oracles. Like I have every week, I choose a few and I start working with them every single day.
Cool.
The other thing that it's also a ritual for me is creativity. If I'm not creating something, I'm going to be destroying something. And it can be my own mind.
Sometimes we just need to destroy something, and that's okay. I think it's a good way to release energy.
Yeah,
But
that's part of the energy. We are destroyers too, right? You see a volcano come out, it's going to destroy a lot of things, but then it's going to be very, a good ground to, grow things, etc. But first we need to destroy. It's part of it, right? So for me, ritual is like every day, open your day with meditation and open a day with a conversation with spirit. That's the first thing, right? And the other thing I'm going to leave people with is something I coined as a teacher in Course in Miracles. And it says, do not force, do not resist, just flow. It is perfect even if you don't understand.
Ooh, yes.
Do not force, do not resist,
Just
just
flow.
flow. It is perfect even if you don't understand it.
Yes. Ooh, I love that.
I love that too.
It's a good mantra. Might need to write that on a mirror.
Yeah. Well, that's what I would always say. This is Course in Miracles in a nutshell. Because you're going from fear, trying to force something or to resist something. I don't want it. That's a ugly gift. And I said, no, it's a gift wrapped in ugly paper. That's all it is. It's still a gift, right? It's wrapped in a, and you don't want it because it's ugly. Open it. There's something good inside, like the illness. Like everybody was like so worried about me, and I was so ecstatic. Like I mean, I had my moment, when I feel really bad. I'm like, I need this to be over, but I know what it's doing. It's cracking me open.
Yeah.
I received it with love, and I'm like, thank you. I needed it. I knew something was coming to crack me open. Well, it's an illness. It's an illness. That's how we do it.
Yep.
That's how humanity does it.
Yep.
Receive it so it can go by quickly. If you're resisting it, it's going to stay there until you decide to open the freaking gift.
It's true. It doesn't get any better.
So true. And it shows up in our lives and patterns over and over. Yeah, until we step up, open the gift, and break it. Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to accept it.
Ooh,
and then those are fear-based behaviors, right? Trying to force something or resisting it. Just accept it, flow with it, and it is perfect. Even because we're trying to understand it, stop trying to understand it.
Yeah,
you will not understand it. Maybe you'll understand it like me a year and a half later and 3 months later when the hurricane happened, and everybody was like, "Oh, see, that was her dream." I didn't even know what it was. I never thought it was a hurricane. I never thought. I saw the whole thing, but I'm like, I don't know what it is. They're just telling me to move. I'll move. I didn't take it so literally.
Yeah.
That's true.
But then I understood it. I'm like, oh my God, they spared me from all this. And there's a plan. And they definitely didn't want me here during it. And I felt so guilty because I felt I had abandoned my patients and I had abandoned my people before the hurricane.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also so important to remember that you don't have to understand what the universe is telling you to act upon it. Still listen, still take the message, and still make the move as you need to. Don't worry about not understanding right now. That'll come later.
That will come later. Maybe it will never come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the lesson is trust.
Yep.
Because it's always happening for you.
And yourself and the
Yeah.
universe. And your lesson.
But that's easy to say, but when the thing comes,
Yeah.
it's harder to,
True.
you know, walk through it.
Yes, it is.
So true.
For sure. Awesome. Well, where can people learn more about you, or if they want to work with you? Do you have like a website or an Instagram, or what's the best way
Yeah,
to
I
connect?
do have my Instagram. It's Delia Toledo MD. And then I have my Facebook is Delia Toledo. That's my Instituto de Medicina Integrativa and Psicospiritual. It's still in Spanish. I'm sorry, but it's still in Spanish. And that's where I post all my videos and my personal page. And then they're in YouTube too. You can go to YouTube. I'm doing a lot of astrology right now. And I do talk about certain things. But the astrology for me is very important because it helps people understand what's going on inside them. So when you know what the cycle is and what you should be working with, the work is faster and better. This is the amazing thing about astrology that people do not understand. Because you're going through the cycles no matter what, you just don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing and you know what you're looking for, you're going to be more watchful and create space to see what you need to see and transform it. Because it helps you with alchemizing
Yeah.
what's going on inside you, on your shadow specifically, right?
Yes.
It's very conducive for you to be able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't do like the integrity thing here. I have my normal job, but this is something that I'm doing um, because I think that at this point I cannot do individual because I think it's more important for me to be able to reach a lot of people and help a lot of people
Yeah.
instead of individual. Like it maximizes what I can do and give, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
I
And
do regular psychiatry, normally like, medication and whatnot. I always do some therapy. I always work on some intervention because I'm so intuitive. I just feel like I directly do whatever. My person sometimes, how do you know that? How do you get there? I'm like, forget it. I just get,
don't worry about it.
times I've someone coming to my office and I see the lover, like I can see a lover, and I'm like, do you have a lover right now? And they go like, how do you know that? I can see him. Like I can see it.
Ooh.
Like it's like so weird. Like how do you know? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just seeing another man in there.
Well, I'll link all of your pages in the show notes in the description of our episode. Yeah, I'm really excited to share this information. I can't wait to have you back on. It's so good. I can't wait to dive even further. There's so much. I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, seriously. Okay. Goddesses, thank you so much for tuning in. Our goddesses, our baddies, our men holding the ladder on this journey with us. Thank you so much. As always, we would really appreciate if you like, comment, subscribe, send us your questions, your comments, your experiences. If you've ever done, past life regression therapy, if you have any spiritual experiences that you just want to share, we would love to hear them and celebrate with you and support you in any way that we can. So yes, as always, join our Goddess Collective, and your intuition is your medicine. Don't forget that. And until next time, stay radiant,
stay empowered,
and keep going
goddess.